It's a sport that requires balance, precision, power, endurance, strength.
A lot of people say that when you go fast, some people say you don't really feel the ice, you just fly. And some people say you do feel the ice and you manipulate it. So everybody has a different philosophy of how they want to feel. But it feels like when I'm going fast, that the ice is just slipping away from my blades and I'm just gliding over the top of it.
My name is Olusegun Sijuwade. People say Olu for short. I am 61 and I live in Mukwonago, Wisconsin. I grew up, I listened to my parents' band practice all the time. My father was a saxophone player and a band leader. My mother was a singer. My uncle, her brother, was a drummer, and lots of other musicians. So I always heard people making live music in the basement, right, like in my house. But it just seemed magical at the same time because I would just see them, like my father blowing into a piece of metal and music would come out, and music I would hear on the radio. So I gravitated toward wanting to learn how to play the saxophone so I could sound like him. Then I decided to become an athlete in college, so I kind of put music on the side. I had thought about going to New York before that and trying to be a jazz musician. I thought my life would be as a scientist. I thought I would be an astronaut or maybe a doctor. Didn't know about sports science at the time growing up. I don't know how much sports science there was when I was growing up. And I went to Indiana University and getting an undergraduate in kinesiology. And then I spent the next 30 years doing youth leadership work and criminal justice work.
And while I was a police officer,
I spent a lot of time in a squad car driving around. And that ended up having an effect on my back where it started to get tight and cramped all the time. And I thought about what sports does your back have the opposite position, like it's bent over? And I thought, speed skating. So my time working at the Pettit started with speed skating. I would volunteer at some of the races just to help with timing or just to help with watching racers' positions and make sure that they were in the right lanes. Sometime in the early 2000s, I believe, maybe even late 1990s, but I think in the early 2000s, they asked if somebody would help to run some of the Masters meets. And I said I would help with that. And then that turned into me exclusively running the Master meets in Milwaukee. And because I got involved in speed skating, people heard me play and they say, well, can you do the national anthem? I guess it was good enough they asked me to play it more times. And they asked me to play it at national events, and I was playing it at Olympic trials, world championships. And so we ended up adopting the national marathon, speed skating marathon, and it's been here for the last 10 years. We would have had it this year except for COVID in March. But like we had the greatest athletes in the world right here training, competing, and I wanted to be part of something that's Olympic. Like ever since I decided I wanted to be an athlete, I thought the Olympics was like the highest pinnacle of athleticism. So to be able to do the sport is like, okay, even though I'm not at the Olympic level, I feel like I'm participating in something that people see as Olympic. I bought my house in 1996. Originally, I thought I was gonna maybe one day have a family, get married, have children, and my house would be big enough because it was way bigger than the other living situations I was looking for. This was 6 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms, 5,000 square feet. I didn't realize how big that actually was until I started living there. As speed skaters would come to Milwaukee to train, and I got more involved in speed skating, you know, people would come to Milwaukee and they would only be here for a week or a few days or a weekend, and I had at least 4 other bedrooms that weren't being used. So I just offered like the house up or a bedroom up for people to stay in for the weekend.
First thing you did when you walked through the door was do a quick scan and see where there was some available floor space or a futon, and put your stuff down quick, because the people right behind you coming in were going to do the same thing. Occasionally it got a little cramped in the big living room.
There was endless possibilities and endless opportunity in that house. The rooms were ginormous. The staircase was beautiful. It was a diamond in the rough, is what I would say to it.
I remember the Masters National Championships that we ran here, international championships that we ran here at the Pettit. And in that particular championship, I had 18 speed skaters in the house just for the championships, in addition to Shani, Jono, and other speed skaters that were staying on the 2nd floor. And so they all brought sleeping bags and just camped out a spot, you know, in the living room.
Just about like 90% of the time, there was NPR or something playing in the background. Like, he always had the radio on, of just like NPR constantly playing in the background. It was like, Olu's home, the radio's on, so we know that he's home.
That's how a lot of us got to know each other, was at his house, not necessarily the rink, you know, racing against each other. We got to know each other more at Olu's house.
It wasn't a palatial palace, but it was home. It was like it was almost like the training center.
Cover my chin on it, and I'm gonna try to push the slide the tire, and then as you slide, the front end is gonna catch on the ground just because of friction, and then it'll start to tilt up. And the other thing is the big key, you gotta get a good grip. And then get your hips forward, hips forward, hips forward, hips forward, hips forward, drive, get your hips forward. There you go. Yeah! I like that scream.
He's really just the type of person that I think is out there to help better everyone, make everyone their best self. Like, I think that's all he wants for anyone, and that's what he's driving for, whether it's in skating, whether it's out of skating.
You can do it, Haire. You're at 11. 11-year-olds can help you.
You hold too heavy. I can't do it.
Shani Davis, 2-time Olympic champion, the only person to win, only male to win the 1,000 back-to-back in the Olympics, and probably the most prolific World Cup long track speed skater in history. When I met him, he was 8, he was really skinny, but I was like, oh, black people that speed skate. I didn't know there was such a thing other than me. I felt like I just accidentally fell into the sport, and you know, I asked them where they stay, and they took me up on the offer, and she just would drop Shani off at my house, and then he would stay for the weekend, and then she would come pick him up.
Like, since I was 8, 9 years old, he's always allowed me and my mother to stay at his house and take care of us, and it saved us a lot of time and trouble and money trying to find a hotel or having to worry about driving back and forth to Chicago to compete. So he's always been a very generous guy ever since I first known him.
You would put him on the ice, and he was just like a machine. Like, he would just go, and he would just do things. If you had a coach, his coach would say go, but he didn't socialize when he was on ice. When he was on the ice, it was like business.
He's always been a believer since I was young. He's always been positive. He's always felt that I could be a special speed skater, and I could, you know, be a champion and things like that.
Just watching his movement, is pretty much the pinnacle of athletic movement. When you're watching speed skate, it's like you're watching grace. But then when you look at the time, you see how much speed and power went into that movement. It's just enchanting. Usually you're used to thinking like, I need to be a model for this young person. And it was like the other way around. I would see that and I'd be like, whoa, I want to be like that. Like, just focused and diligent and determined, and just have this faith that if I keep doing this, one day I'm going to accomplish this incredible goal.
no matter where I was at in the world, if I was training in Canada or Korea or living in China or in Chicago or out in Salt Lake City where I'm at now, I always had a reserved spot at this house. And I remember the day he sold the house, I was really sad about it, but he had to let it go because he was pursuing other things in his life.
I couldn't keep up with the repairs that needed to be made, and then I started to get fines that they couldn't delay any further until I made significant repairs on the house. So I ended up having to sell the house to avoid more fines. And I always thought to myself that one day I would buy the house back. And I still think that, I wouldn't mind having the house again.
He always would make space for someone that needed a place to stay. And I don't know too many people that were willing to give up their own bedroom to house other people. I think the thing that Olu taught me the most is just not being too quick to judge other people and just making time to be available for people that need certain things from me. I've learned to be a giver, not so much a taker.
I've always wanted to be involved in things that I could help youth see their power. And I never saw myself as a person that they needed to train under, but a person that needed to listen and bounce off ideals and help give them the key to, like, this is how you can get in and do this here, because they're ready to be leaders right now. And we saw that with the March for Our Lives in the effort to stop gun violence a few years ago, and climate change with Greta. Like, the teenagers are like, they're leaders right now. We don't have to wait for them to grow. We just have to give them the keys. Everything that an athlete relies on to be successful, this sport requires. It'll show you how athletic you are or not. Just to be affiliated with the tradition of the sport, the people in the sport, and just having seen people from birth to adulthood, reach Olympic dreams, that just keeps me in.